Hello, and welcome to COABE's Meet the Author, where we sit down and talk with the authors from our latest edition of the COABE Journal. My name is Kristen Hempel, and I'm COABE's Region 1 representative. And I'm excited to be here with 5 authors from one of our articles in the latest edition on digital literacy. Their article is called The Digital Upside to the Pandemic Lockdown, Creating Digital Equity Through Native Language Support at Tyson Foods. Before we begin, I would love for you all to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I'm Anson Green. I lead up economic opportunity at Tyson Foods, and that includes adult basic education and career pathway initiatives. And real happy to talk about our article today.
Hello, I'm Amanda Bergson-Shilcock. I'm a senior fellow at the nonprofit National Skills Coalition, and my areas of focus at NSC are adult education, digital literacy, and immigrant inclusion. So you can see the overlap with our journal topic.
Hi, my name is Della Adams. I am a program manager for Tyson Foods. Happy to be here today.
Hello, my name is Charlee Hinton. I am the interpreter coordinator for the Upward programs at Tyson Foods and a language and cultural consultant. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Donna Davis, and I'm a senior manager in corporate social responsibility at Tyson Foods and oversee program and student success work with our Upward programs.
Well, this is certainly a very exciting collaboration. So before we begin, I'd love it if we could just, peel back the curtain a little bit and hear about what motivated you all to come together and to write this article.
Sure, I'd love to tell you a little bit from our perspective at Tyson Foods and in adult education. The whole country, the whole world went through a lot with the pandemic, especially in the education where we were going remote and hitting all kinds of new digital landscapes. And we really thought what we were doing at Tyson had a compelling story to share. The old axiom, never let a good crisis go to waste. And we sure didn't do that. So we called the article The Digital Upside of the Lockdown, because we think there's a lot of lessons learned for education, adult education, and companies when it comes to digital education for lower skilled individuals. We've learned a lot over the last 18 months or so. And keep asking ourselves, like, how are we better? Are we gonna, what's gonna stick around in terms of innovations for us in the future? If you don't know, adult education facilitates partnerships with adult educators across the country to provide education classes in our plants for our frontline team members, most of whom are limited English proficient and in ESL programs. So we really had a lot to do to really transition the program, like everybody did, to a remote format using a lot of the digital assets that we had in place. What we did have that was extra interesting, I think, was that we really had a commitment to doing things in the native language as much as possible in terms of kind of the mechanics of rolling out programs. So the article is really about how did we go digital for lower skilled adults, but also how did we leverage in language or translation and interpreter supports to help us make that bridge. And we really wanted to tell the article through the lens of something that adult educators like yourselves could transition some of those lessons learned to what you do in your own local programs. So how did we go remote? How do we keep the lights on, and how do we do better? The lesson for businesses is businesses employ low-skilled adults all over the country, and we wanted to kind of show our leadership in what we did to make sure that we could continue the upskilling and education of that vital component of our workforce. Amanda?
Yeah, I would add too, in addition to what Anson said, when we think about digital skills in adult education, I always say there are 2 perspectives that are equally important. You have the bird's eye view and you have the worm's eye view, right? The worm can see things at the ground level, and that's so critically important for all of us who are in classrooms and running programs and really doing the work on the ground, interacting with learners every day. The bird's eye view is what lets you look across programs and across states and say, what are the things that people are encountering all over the country that are shared concerns, that are shared challenges, and how might one particular program model or example help illuminate some of the solutions? And so one of the reasons that I was excited to participate in writing this article was really to kind of draw the connections between the programmatic work on the ground that Tyson and Upward Academy are leading and the national conversation. We had sort of an aha moment for a lot of policymakers when the pandemic hit, and they suddenly realized that without digital skills, adult workers and learners would not be able to fully participate in their jobs, in the economy, as parents of school-aged children. And so there was really an aha moment for a lot of folks. And there was a deep curiosity among a lot of adult educators, right? How are my peers handling this? What does good look like? What can I borrow from other parts of the country that my program or my organization can adopt and adapt? So for me, that was a really galvanizing reason to make sure that we got this article out into the world so that we could hear reactions from the field. How does this shape up in comparison to your own work and your own experiences? So I'm going to hand it off now to our next colleague to talk about the next question.
Well, before we do that, I'm going to jump in and just say I love that metaphor of not letting a good crisis go to waste, and how you went ahead and used that to really bridge that gap between that national conversation and what's going on the ground level. And I know from people on the ground level, we really appreciate that conversation, is going both ways. It makes such a difference for our learners. But that's me speaking from my perspective. I'm really curious about what you all think about how adult education practitioners will benefit from reading your article and how that will in turn benefit our learners.
Yeah, I'd love to answer that question. So we really feel like adult ed practitioners are going to benefit because our responses can be replicated in the classroom. So while you may not have a whole department of interpretive and translation services, you do have that high-level Vietnamese student that you can leverage to spend an afternoon with you creating YouTube videos that can really demonstrate the skills that lower learners need in language to access those digital literacy skills. And really, what it does for the learners in those programs is open up those skills, for those lower levels. I think a lot of people think, the vocabulary is just really complicated for a lot of technology and digital literacy. So teaching that in English to someone who's very low level is really difficult. But again, leveraging those in-language services really makes learning those skills available to our lower level learners.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really powerful insight about how important that in-language component is and the strengths that our students have and how they can help us make those connections. So, just building off of that, what do you hope that readers will take away from this article?
I can talk a little bit about that one. I'm really hoping that, first of all, we had a really great partner, an adult ed teacher named Kelly Griffiths, that we really wanted to spotlight her a little bit because she is an amazing educator. And we went through this experience together. And so we really wanted to kind of share that story, hoping that other people could really relate to that experience. We kind of got into the nitty gritty of the going through COVID with all of these challenges. And then also, we thought it might be not only just an inspiring story, but also provide some tools, resources, and ideas for other educators. And again, kind of supporting what some of these other guys have said, that we tried to really highlight a lot of what we did was very accessible. We used a lot of free tools. And so just thought it'd be a good place for people to read a little bit, get their kind of hamster wheel turning and thinking about how they can incorporate some of those tools and skills in their programs as well.
That's much appreciated. There's so much going on out there, and being able to listen to or you read about someone's story and be able to then access the tools and give it a shot yourself is really appreciated. So from a program level, but I thank you for taking this time today. I don't know if there's any other additional comments that you would like to share with us at this point.
Thank you, Kristen. I'll just wrap up by, expressing that, our partnership with adult education is vast now and across our footprint. And, throughout this crisis has been an incredible partner for us to really have that on the ground local touch with our team members who are students, and to have that creative local problem solving with really creative solutions that our team can implement to support them has been really beneficial for us, and we're excited that what we discovered is scalable, it's low cost, and we're happy to share the things that we found work for us with our partners while also learning from them every day, ways that we can also be a good partner. So I'm grateful for this time to talk about our article, and thank you.
Thank you guys. All of you for what you're bringing here today, and then also just for the role model of that partnership. That's so important to our field, and you definitely have been trailblazers there. So appreciate seeing that. Appreciate hearing about how you all got the wheels in motion during this crisis and really figured out how to push through and to come to some great learning outcomes. So we appreciate your dedication to the field of adult education and for all that you do in terms of your work and how that impacts our learners around the country, really. And I encourage our listeners today, if you have not yet read this article, to go on over to our website and access the digital literacy edition of the COABE Journal. You can do that by clicking on the tab, the journal tab, and then you can buy either an individual article or you can buy the whole thing. It's a read you will not regret. So I do encourage you to do that, and you'll get to hear or read the full story here from this wonderful partnership. So thank you all again for joining us today, and we'll talk soon.